Okay, so remember I said that cancer was an entity in your body from all of your environment, remedies, exposure to biodiversity, animals, plants, humans. And since it's not allowed to leave because people use remedies, it turns into a fast-moving cancer. It's a germline cell. Yes, it's your evolution, but it's your evolution that was not allowed to integrate with you. It became a separate entity. It became something that worked against you, not for you. You see, when you purposely develop enemies by saying you're over here and I'm over here, okay? And that's in all politics, all religion, all science dogmas, even friends and family, because you have made an association that these are your friends and these are not your friends. And so you've already developed an enemy by saying that is your friend, that is not your friend. And so that's what people do with their immune system, is that they say, okay, they want to keep the sanctity of their body using cures. And then when the body tries to release something that is not their friend, then the body holds on to that entity that didn't really assimilate. When you think about it, it found a way to make a home and take resources, but it never assimilated to you. So then it becomes something that works against you. Okay? Now that's like the storyline, but there is actual scientific explanation behind cancer, disease, and chronic illness. It's the fact that you've attacked your body and you've weaponized your immune system against you. So there's the religious side of it, right? I mean, I don't say religious, but that's the allegory, is that you are developing an entity that eventually will possess you and destroy you. Okay, there's that side of it, the Satan and the Savior. But then the scientific side of it is that when somebody attacks their body on a continuous basis, using remedies and surgeries and oncology and drugs and alcohol and massive amounts of sex and all of that, then they're developing their immune system to actually work against them. And so when you trap a bunch of antibodies like macrophages that are supposed to gobble up the pathogens and then be released, right? People don't release them. And so the pathogens then take over. They start replicating inside the macrophages and they take over the macrophage or bust free, one of the two. And then that person is harboring an entity inside of them that actually is working against them. And those are called antibodies. They're Y antibodies. All antibodies are Y antibodies. And then you realize that there's a connection between the Y chromosome and the Y antibodies. And we discovered that yesterday or the day before, when I realized why they're saying that in the future there'll be more females than males. Because eventually we're not going to be attacking our bodies with remedies and surgeries and oncology and drugs and alcohol and mass amounts of sex. Eventually the system is going to clean itself up. But the reason why they allowed you to have, or I won't say allowed you, but didn't, well, they tried to prohibit it, but that backfired back in prohibition. But now you're going to see what happens when people take part in the remedies world, in the oncology world, in the drug world, in the alcohol world. You're going to see now what happens to people when they become so overridden by antibodies. And it's not just men. Okay, because there's some men out there that are not as aggressive as other men are. But you'll see what happens when people are so over with antibodies, they become mean and nasty and predatory. Because they have harbored a beast inside that is destroying their infrastructure, and they're breaking down, losing intelligence, losing intellectual capability. And they're steadily looking for the enemy. And so then I figured out, obviously I had a transition with the whole using what, like, Hitler was the disease back in 1945, and now we are developing little Hitlers out there. We're developing little Hitlers out there. They're pounding the gavel that they are the savior and they have the answer, and this is the Satan, and it's anyone. They can pick and choose whatever they want to be the Satan. But yeah, so I said, hold on. Yeah, every civilization had to do a reset, because there's always going to be some desperate / despot that was going to try to clean up the world, and every single time they did that, it led to another world war or revolution, even a major takeover of a civilization. For example, the Middle East. I mean, Solomon's temple was taken down by, was it Assyrians, Akkadians? I forget which, but they were taken down, and that was the whole Hanukkah. That's why Hanukkah exists, because of that. And then other civilizations came to take over the Middle East, and then you had the Ottoman Empire and all that. So, for example, the Middle East. Go further back 1,000 years ago, even during the Ottoman Empire, and before that, Babylon. And so then progress was lost, developing into despair, anger, intense emotions, and even monsters were developed and created. And of course, constant wars. Okay? And so what I'm saying here is that how does a system remedy that type of situation of so many people who have issues with what's going on as far as cleaning up? Well, you just develop so many little Hitlers out there. You develop so many little Hitlers that will then pound the gavel of hate in a controlled circumstance, point to all point to who they think is at fault, and they have the answer for you. They have the answer for you. They have a remedy that's FDA approved. Instead of the GAS space chambers, right, where they're hauling people into these BOX cars and saying, you go here, you go here, you go here, right? Now they're getting your permission. And so when you're getting permission to take an FDA-approved protocol to stop the pain, which means stopping the body from releasing, when you're taking FDA-approved protocol of oncology, an herbal remedy, when you're taking an FDA-approved protocol of detox, sanctioned by a licensed professional, then there is no argument, there's no blaming the system when you have given them permission to basically disable your immune system systematically over time. That's been going through, that went through the double-blind studies and everything else. So you can't blame them for a correlation equals causation, because it's the cumulative effect. That beast was built in your body for, I'm 49 years old, so I had 49 years of a beast built up in my body. 49 years. Some people have 70 years of a beast built up in their body. Some people have 5 years because they're only 5 years old, and that beast, they inherited that beast, and they also are taking on stronger remedies to make that beast even more aggressive when the climate changed. That's what's going on with these mycoplasma pneumonia. That's the beast. Okay, the body's trying to push it out. People are trying to hold it back in. That beast is tearing shit up inside. That's why these kids over there in China are going through some major issues. That's why people here in America are dropping like flies, because they are holding that beast inside, and that beast is tearing shit up. Just like the hoodlums in your community. We have developed such beasts out there that we have kids breaking windows. We have kids robbing and looting places like LA, San Francisco. I don't care if someone encouraged it. If you're that easily manipulated to be encouraged to go and commit crime, then it's a question of just who's going to be the one to tell you to do it. If it's that easy to go and listen to someone to go and commit a crime. Okay? So, yeah, so you're giving permission for this beast to be even more formidable inside. And then, of course, they're called names. They're called MRSA. They're called cancer, disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders. They're called MS. They're called, I mean, you go to the John Hopkins novel, you'll see every single name of the beast that people have developed inside. And then, of course, a protocol that must be FDA approved to go and try to wrangle that beast and tame it. But as you know, that only lasts so long. Cures only last so long before then the beast redoubles efforts and destroys a person, destroys a child. And in a slower frequency environment, you really couldn't make the connection because you couldn't say correlation equals causation. Because people were taking their remedies and then they get recalled or it didn't work, and they're taking another remedy and it gets recalled or it doesn't work. And so then you can't even figure out where it all started out with you trying to remedy yourself. It all started out from way in the beginning when you were told to remedy your disease so you can go to work or go to school or go play. So that's how the system found a way to still implement a type of great reset type of thing. But now, instead of doing what happened in 1945, you're putting your John Hancock, as soon as you give your kid, hello, Kimberly, as soon as you give your kid to the medical, holistic, energy healing world, as soon as you remedy your kid's disease, and again, I can't tell you not to remedy your kid's disease because that's not for me to say, but that's where it started. That tradition started way back 6,000 years ago. Even before that, Imhotep, 2700 BC, when he was doing all the alchemy and then carving out the beast out of people, called surgery. That's why people get tumors. That's why they get all these different growths, because they have taken so many things that attacked their immune system, caused the immune system to develop antibodies, and those antibodies were going to work for you, but then you don't release them because you're taking more remedies to stop the immune system, and now you have all these growths that are then now becoming something that's going to work against you, usurping so much energy, causing anemia, and then people have to go under surgery. They have to go get things surgically taken out. And again, you can't try to commandeer your child's immune system and do the opposite, because they've already came into this world at a deficit. They already have been told not to feel pain. Everything must be easy for them. They can't be stressed out in any way, because they probably can't be because they're too weak. So then either they survive the environment, or the parent figures out how to feed them and try to keep them away from other kids, and how you're going to fucking do that, I don't know. And given that people do homeschool, but when they homeschool, they hang out with other kids. They go out there in the public, taking on more of the antigen, causing the antibodies offspring, and then when their kid has disease, then the mother's giving them remedies. The mother is remedying them away. So even homeschooling is not making a difference as far as these kids getting a chance, second chance at life. No, the culture has already been set. The programming has been set. So then what is it? It's the parents have to save themselves, because they already have the infrastructure. Now it's just going through the process, but do they have the time? Do they have the energy? Do they even have the infrastructure in their life to sit and deal with their disease, with that fucking beast inside of them that is tearing shit up? And so they're only left to go and get surgery. And so when you're thinking about parents right now, even grandparents, going into the hospital system and the doctor system, getting surgeries and getting treated for all these different diagnosable conditions, what chance does your kid have? I'm not saying that lose all hope, but understand now you're up against something really formidable, that the indicators should be cluing you in that if grandma and grandpa and even mama, it can't even handle the environment and has to go get treated, how the hell is your kids going to survive? And so then if your kids are like in their 15, 16, 17, 18, and they're not too far gone, completely influenced by their peers, maybe not encourage them to have kids, because that's only going to cause them to be in more of a deficit. And it's a question whether that kid and that parent, your child who wants to become a parent, is going to survive. It's anyone's guess now, because as you're seeing, even these younger mothers, 30 years old, 20 years old, with 3 or 4 or 5 kids, are going to have an issue surviving, if they even survive at all. And so I'm just going to go down. I'm just going to go from the top to the bottom. But I wanted to lead in with that. And so, yeah, that leaving the world behind, okay, with Ethan Hawke and Roberts and one relatively known, if you watch House of Cards, the black guy, I don't know his name, I forget. He was in the House of Cards. He was really good. And then that other unknown actress. Okay? And so that movie, Leaving the World Behind, got so much press for a reason. Nothing is coincidental. Just like White Noise. Remember White Noise? The train derailments and all that plume of smoke and stuff. And then, of course, contamination, pollution. And people were freaking out. So that was kind of like an indicator. And then you had all these train derailments. And then I haven't heard anything lately since that time. And then now we have this movie that has a real blockbuster cast like Julia Roberts. And I watched her in Pretty Woman back in the 80s with Richard Gere. And so that got so much press for a reason. Nothing is coincidental. Mycoplasma pneumonia is the flood along with El Nino. So yeah, there's El Nino in Somalia, and there's a lot of people drowning in Somalia. 200 people have drowned in Somalia. 6 people died in Tennessee. And there's going to be more storms going on right now that came from the west all the way to the east. I would assume that the springtime, if even during this wintertime with this whole climate change, it's going to be pretty bad for the coasts. Again, if you're living in Florida, have you figured out maybe it's time to find a way to go north or go inland somewhere? I don't know. Are people even listening? Maybe you don't have the capacity to. I don't know. But if you do, maybe it's time to listen to indicators. Okay, so climate change frequency will make it very aggressive along with the El Nino. So the mycoplasma pneumonia is when you are exposed to so many different antigen out there causing your body to go into antibody or an immune response, developing antibodies, and then it's so quick that sometimes it could even flood your respiratory system, causing then white lung infection, like they're saying. And people already hold a lot of those antibodies in their body because they hold so much of that diversity because they've been treating their disease for so many years. Again, when a couple years ago, I actually felt the pneumonia. I didn't get it tested, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But I could barely move. I could barely drink water. I could barely eat. It hurt even looking off in the distance. I had no energy, like absolutely none. I could barely walk. My dog was alive at the time, so she encouraged me to get out of bed because she has to go outside. She had to go outside and go pee. So she probably saved my life in getting me to move around. Even my husband, the last week, he could hardly move his legs. He had a hard time. It was so painful for him. Okay, so that pneumonia it's basically a web-like viscous substance that invades every single orifice, every single crack, and every single joint, so it's painful. And I remember even the last couple of weeks, my arms were in pain. And so climate change frequency will make it very aggressive, make that mycoplasma pneumonia very aggressive, and some people don't survive it. It actually floods their lungs and causes them to die suddenly. They can't get it. They can't get a breath in. Like again, I remember waking up a few times the last few months where I felt like I was actually going to die in that moment in my sleep. But then, I don't know, man, something else kicked in and saved my ass while I was sleeping. I had some dreams I was going to die, dreams I was being attacked by something. Okay? That's some pretty intense shit that happens overnight. And so mycoplasma pneumonia is the flood along with El Nino. Climate change frequency will make it very aggressive. And people are falling apart. Which is why I stay home. And I feed my husband when he is sick. I do not recommend remedies to him or tell him to stay away from food. He will make his own choices because he already has the beast inside. He's been doing remedies and stuff like that. He still smokes cigarettes. He occasionally he'll drink alcohol. But I'm not trying to make that beast stronger. I'm not going to be the one to make that beast stronger. I will not be a party to the death of my own husband. I'll let him make those choices. And if he has to poop, he will poop. Okay? And so I refuse to treat disease. I am not making that beast any more stronger than it has to be because I have to release it every morning and every night. And yesterday, I'll tell you, my husband was home this weekend, so I know I take on his demons. I know that. That's why Monday and Tuesday is kind of like a bitch for me. Usually Monday, because that's when I have to get over the weekend, especially if it's been pretty aggressive anyways, plus then taking on his microbes. I can handle that. So yesterday I had to take a nap. I fell asleep in the afternoon, don't even remember sleeping. Then I woke up going like, okay, everything's cool, I'm fine. And then I really had to release the beast inside. I had food, and then all of a sudden, everything had to come out down there. All the poop had to come out. It was just like, holy crap. Literally, holy crap. And that's how my body responds to now being exposed to a different entity. Okay? I had maybe a few hives, like 1 or 2, like on the side, But that's it. But it's still, my arm right here is still like sore up here. But it's not bad, but it's still like sore. Okay? But it's not bad. It's manageable. And so, yeah, I released a beast yesterday that was pretty formidable. And so I know my system's working the way it's supposed to. And so I said, what's remarkable is surviving an adulthood, not having a bunch of children. Because people are like, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, I want to have a kid. I don't have a family. Okay. How are they going to survive in this environment? How are they going to? What's remarkable is surviving adulthood, not having a bunch of children. Because if adults are not surviving this environment, what chances do your children have? And this pneumonia is formidable. Okay? So I triggered it a couple years ago. And that was just from the fact that I have an open immune system, and the frequencies were such, and I was not cured, so I was able to experience that earlier than what's going on now. So in this environment, some people who've been cured or have had a different immune system or different frequency level of being triggered, now they're seeing the beast starting to move. Okay? And it's happening in China, and it's happening in parts of the U.S. Eventually, all the U.S. can be dealing with some shit. I mean, dogs are feeling it. And so I figured out that as far as what's going on right now with this great reset, because we are in a great reset. The Georgia Guidestones told you. You hear all the conspiracy world. They're like, oh my God, all the right-wing guys are out there galvanizing together going like, we got to save the world from themselves, actually. Yeah, the system is cleaning up a lot of the predators and the prey, because the prey turn into predators. When you're a constant victim, you'll turn into a predator, because then you'll be full of antibodies because of all the trauma causing your defenses to be so up that then you'll be hunting for that enemy that you can't release out of your body. That memory. It's the memories of the trauma, the memories of you attacking yourself. It's not just the trauma out there, it's then even you attacking yourself as the body tries to release those bad memories, those tragic, traumatic memories, and you're holding them inside. So then you're attacking your body, and so then you actually cause the mycoplasma to mimic, right? Because that's what's going on, replication. That's RNA, ribonucleic acid, just you keep reenacting that same memory. And then you have a beast working against you inside the body. And so when you think about that's how it works in a systematic, in a progressive, step-by-step process. There's trauma, there's exposure to antigen causing antibodies, and the person, takes it on, and then they have some feeling of disease, and they don't want to feel it, so they trap those memories. So they trap trauma and tragic memories inside. And then that beast turns into something that works against them. Because yes, taking the remedies attacks your immune system. Taking the remedies, the surgeries, every single thing that's in the health and wellness world is an attack against your own immune system. And your body doesn't forgive you for it. And that's why people are falling apart. And so when people are falling apart, they become very dangerous. They become predatory. They become dangerous. They scapegoat. And they look for a hero. And then they also deem themselves a savior, and then pointing the finger at someone to be a Satan, and they don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of themselves at all. It's always somebody else's fault. They have to warn everyone of this and this and this. And so that's what I'm saying yesterday. I said, I can't come from the place of warning. Now it's just observation. Because we're pretty much the train has left the station for a lot of people. That beast inside has already taken over, and it's just a matter of time before it actually destroys a person. And there's nothing you can do to intervene. You can't force them to take that beast out, because that beast is interwoven itself in every single cell, in every single memory they hold, in every single 11, 12 different systems they have. Because releasing that beast is a systematic process. And it's not something you can do just like that. It is a systematic, progressive process that you would actually have to change your lifestyle belief system and eat all food. And wean yourself off the drugs, alcohol, and crazy amounts of sex, because that's taking on somebody else's demons. And how are you releasing them? And if you already have so many demons inside, when you think about it, and taking on more sex, more of the crazy mycoplasma out there and the microbes, you're taking on way more than you're able to release. That's why staying home and staying safe and releasing the demons and eating all food and figure out if you can handle it and change your lifestyle is going to be for those who have the capacity, the strength to change and the strength to release and the strength to take on substance so they can handle that energy conversion. And so yeah, people become dangerous when they are deteriorated inside. When that beast inside has taken over and now they're on the hunt. The beast is on the move. And so every civilization had to do a reset. There was always going to be some desperate despot that was going to try to clean up the world. And every single time they did that, it led to another world war, even a major takeover of a civilization. Okay, so for example, the Middle East. Go further back 1,000 years ago, even during Ottoman Empire, before that, Babylon. Progress was lost, developing into despair, anger, intense emotions, and every monster, and even monsters were developed and created, and of course, constant wars. But now we have a coexisting type of belief system that will be implemented across the world. We will not give so much emphasis to one religion or culture or group of people over another. So people think that the Jews run the world. No, it's the Rosicrucians, and it's Christian Gnostic, Jewish mystics, Hermetics, and then you have the Egyptian and Greek mythology, and that's all over the world. So the Rosicrucian order represents every single one of you and both sides of the equation of life and death. You are being given a choice, if you even understand the choices presented to you. How do you clean up the world without losing so much intelligence? And how does one justify it with people's permission? Using the disease as a remedy. Hitler was a disease back in 1945, and now you're watching almost everybody on your Facebook become a little Hitler. And then use as a tool to get you to use more remedies to build up that beast inside while blaming someone else in a controlled circumstance. And there are rules of engagement when you're doing something such as this. That's why it's FDA approved protocols. Not only does it protect the consumer from someone who's actually using antibiotics that will cause them to die faster because it wasn't tested. Okay? But also protects the person trying to sell you something who doesn't know any better. All right? So, like me, I was trying to tell you that, yeah, the J juice can cure stuff, though salt has a curative effect, but it doesn't always happen for people right away, especially when they're not eating enough salt. There's not enough salt in their diet. When you already have enough salt in your diet, or you can handle the aggressive effects in the beginning, and then you can see then the constipation. The constipation in the J world was the actual proof that it had a curative effect. And some people were finding relief as well. And so when you're skinny and you're doing so much J juice, yeah, you won't survive because you won't be hungry. You're not releasing, and that beast inside of you is trapped. That's why Google has put out my recipe. You Google jelly juice recipe, and Google will tell you, oh, it's this much and this much. It's like, you know how, Einstein developed the whole atom bomb, and there's Oppenheimer and all those people that thought they could, develop all these really awesome things and understanding energy and atomic bombs and all that stuff, and then it realized that the people are going to use that for whatever they're going to use it for. Well, I developed a protocol that you can't claim that it's going to cure you because there's no guarantee. But now the system will say, hey, yeah, go do it. If you're skinny and you don't want to feel stuff and you don't want to eat anything and you're drinking so much, you'll die faster in this environment because you'll trap that shit inside of you. That's called a curative effect. You're not supposed to be cured, especially in a dynamic environment. You're supposed to release the demons and eat all food. But you know how people are. They're afraid of food. They don't want to feel anything, and they don't want any kind of hiccup in their game. And so the system found a way to say, okay, there's danger here, but hey, here's the recipe. And it's like, oh my God. Okay, so as soon as I feel like, that those who developed a protocol to find ways to find relief not realizing that everything is different in a changed environment, the system will use it to their advantage. But also play the other side of it, give you all the warnings, but be like, hey, go ahead and use it. And so I'm just like, oh my God. So that's why I get love and hate, because people who don't want to feel anything and they're all about losing so much weight, and in this environment you can't really do that. They love the J juice, and those are like, I don't want to feel anything, and they feel something because the J juice activated their immune system, and they hate me for it, but they won't do it if they're too afraid of heart attacks and strokes. So those that have heart attacks and strokes in their background will never do this, and I understand it. That's fine. I could care less at this point. You know, we all have chosen the world that we want to live in, and so I can't be the one to save anyone, because people will mischaracterize anything you do if it doesn't come out the way they expect. And so there are rules of engagement when you're doing something like the J world. That's why FDA approved protocols. Not only does it protect you as a consumer because of immediate reaction, it also protects the person trying to sell you something who doesn't know any better. And then every person who goes through the system to take their remedies has acknowledged nothing is absolute. They gave their permission for everything. The people were already primed in a slower frequency environment, taking all the remedies and surgeries and oncology. And so when the environment shifts and becomes more aggressive, every intention they have will be realized faster. That's why there's turbo cancers. That's why people are dying suddenly. That's why these kids are maturing faster. And that's why they're also dying suddenly. Because that beast was already primed in their genetic line, but also through their practices in the remedies world. And so when climate change happens, people are already conditioned to remedy their disease. Fucking strategic. I have to hand it to the system. World War II will never happen again. We will, the system, will ask for your permission, for you to sacrifice yourself to the system. All the while instilling fear into you, so you always use a professional. Write the fuck on. And I even said that in the way that, like, you write, because really that's what it is. You keep writing. You write your future and your present. And then write the fuck on, RIGHT. And so it's another, where you can choose your own adventure. I chose to be like, hey, write the fuck on. Write whatever you want. You say that you can remedy your disease and you think that you're going to go over the rainbow into Pleiades. Fine. Write your future. Write your past. Write your present. Write whatever the hell you want. As far as encouraging your children to have children, that will be a world of hurt now and in the future. Because at this point, when in this environment, when you have the beast already taking up resources, and then you have a kid that's taking up resources from you, and the kid has the beast out of taking up resources from them, and you're taking resources from that kid because it's a quid pro quo type of thing, how are they going to get ahead of the beast inside? Because you can see almost anybody who has a relatively calm childhood and background with a few hiccups can do well in school. So people are like, oh, my kid's doing well. I'm sure they are. I don't doubt it. But will they survive this environment? It's not remarkable to have children or have those children be relatively smart in a society that gives them everything. Let me tell you, if I had a different background and I was at a release of demons, well, I don't know. I have no idea. I had a lot of, here's the thing. I came from Vietnam and they would give me all the different foods and whatever drugs that needed to be happening back then, and then had a very calm atmosphere. And I had all the food that I needed. And I was given, and it was a child-centered household. It spoiled me. I'd probably been like everybody else. Because there were kids that were sick, that were fighting, and they turned out, like, oh, everything's great. But they're weak. Will they be able to handle an aggressive environment? No. When you come into this world weak, when you come into this world weak and skinny with deficiencies, preemie, to a mother or father that has their own predisposed issues, even young mothers and fathers, you really would have to pack on the weight, release those demons, not treat that disease, so that kid has a chance to release those demons. And then they potentially could have a chance, but how many parents out there are willing to go down that road, or even allowed to go down that road? Again, those kids don't belong to you. They belong to the system. For 18 years, those kids actually belong to the system, not you. That's why there's CPS. That's why there's police. That's why there's law enforcement. Because on both ends, we have people who who intend to do well, but they starve their kid because they're like, oh, I'm afraid of meat. So they put their kids on vegan everything. So these kids are starving. So yeah, you have to have CPS around to be like, what the hell are you doing? All right. So what's remarkable? Surviving maturity and not dying from natural causes and bad decisions. See, it's not just even dying from natural causes that people have to be aware of as far as adults, but adults making bad decisions because of their immune system is totally glitching. I remember when I was leaving Ohio. Oh, I was right before I left for Ohio. Not leaving Ohio, but I was in California. I was in my little Ford Focus. And just right before I left Ohio, I was going around a curve and I was going so fast. I was pressing the gas so fast. And I'm like, I'm just going to take this. And I was getting such a rush of just going. You know, I'm telling you, man, if there was something in that road, there was frequencies. And I remember frequencies even back then, back in 2010. And I was getting that surge of energy and I was feeling like, ooh, I'm invincible. And I'm just taking that curve so fast. Like just putting like, I'll tell you, man, I didn't care if I was going to live or die at that moment. I didn't care. Okay. And so when your immune system is whatever and the frequencies are going through what they're going through, yeah, I can see why people now are getting in accidents and making bad choices because the environment is that aggressive. It was aggressive back then, even in California, but I didn't make that connection because I thought it was just me or who the hell knows. But now as I look back on how I behaved in my car one time, because I remember I did not care if I lived or died at that point. It was just going fast. That speed was just so amazing. And so I can only imagine now in this environment, people are doing that and they're making bad choices. And oh my God. That's why you've seen all these accidents. And so surviving maturity, what's remarkable is surviving maturity and not dying from natural causes and bad decisions. That's not something these kids are going to get to be given the option for, most likely unless they're really lucky. Okay? And so, yeah, some of these kids will do great up to a certain point and then die suddenly, just like these kids that you've seen all over the internet with the die suddenly groups. It's you, the adults, the system wants to stay alive. They already put the work into you. And men, it's time to soften your rhetoric. My guess is some of you are proving why this system is doing what it's doing. So again, you saw that panel of men that I pointed out yesterday. They have now put themselves to be some kind of savior of humanity, as they have shit in their background of being a predator on some level. Not all of them. Some of them had law enforcement come down on them. Some of them have had backgrounds of just, having inseminated a bunch of girls. Okay, and it's not surprising they're in the right-wing world. No offense against them, but that's kind of what the system has separated the traditionalists versus the progressives. And even back in 1945, it was the traditionalists. It was the patriarchal society of the men that knew more than the women. And it back then is no different than what we see in the split in our society today. Patriarchal societies, patriarchal religions. And I'm not saying the matriarchs are any better because some of them have so much of the antibodies inside. They hold a lot of testosterone and they're full of antibodies and they act just like the men out there. And so now it's evenly distributed. And men, it's time to soften your rhetoric. My guess is some of you are proving why the system is doing what it's doing. Don't become a Hitler and start scapegoating a person, place, or thing. Because I can see people teetering on that precipice. Many of them are men with women supporters. Women, I think it's time for you to reconsider who you follow. Some of you need to take your power back because you're giving it away to almost everybody. But that's just my opinion. But again, everything is your choice, even if it's not. Okay, so I fought to live. I fought for my position in this world, and no, I'm not popular. People actually hate me. Sometimes that's required. And you build up your defenses and you stay alive. Some women are trapped because they have to be liked in their profession. They have to be liked by their friends and family. They're not allowed to put boundaries down. So don't envy those women that must be liked because they're trapped. They can't do anything but what they're doing. Because their friends or family, their job will not allow them to take a back seat and relax and save themselves. No, they keep throwing more money at them, more social capital, more distractions, more temptations, and so they can't say no. They're not allowed to. When you have to be liked by everybody, you're trapped in a jail. And when a caged tiger is trapped, they are mean and bitter, but try to put on an image like they're not. But then you see them follow religion or a belief system attacking somebody else because they're trapped. And yeah, even attacking themselves with drugs, alcohol, sex, and remedies and surgeries. That's when you know you're in a dying society, when you see how many oncology clinics, how many hospitals that are in your area that look like, ivory towers. I mean, the hospital system over here, when you look at Mercy Hospital in my town, it's like stories and stories high. Yeah. They're processing all the people who have the beast inside, and they're systematically going through and treating that beast and making it stronger, taking it out, it becomes too aggressive, but then the beast's still inside, there's still remnants of it that will eventually take the person out. That's the order of operations in the medical system. And so that movie, Leave the World Behind, was a warning to the world. No different than the movie White Noise and the train derailments. And Julia Roberts grabbing her ears means that there are frequencies that you don't realize that will make you fall apart, waking up the beast inside that you have developed over so many years of remedies. I spent 7 years of releasing that beast. That beast is formidable. Everybody has that beast inside because everybody has practiced some form of remedies, pharmaceuticals, herbal detoxes, and they also try to stop the pain, which is the body trying to release, even the children. And that's why I'm saying, parents, save yourself. I'm not warning you to do it. I'm just telling you why I said it. Not because I don't like kids, because kids are cool until they're fun until they're not. It's because the system has woken up the beast inside. And that beast is on the move. And that's why you're in pain trying to stop the body from releasing to such a deadly detriment. The beast was programmed to attack your immune system with your permission because you attacked your body. It wasn't the system that did it. You kept attacking your body. That beast was programmed to attack you because you programmed that beast to attack you. That's what people have to realize. And I have to make sure I say that properly. Okay? It's not the system doing it. So it is not the system programming your immune system to attack you. You programmed your immune system to attack you. You. Okay? And that's what I have to impress upon. It's not the system's fault. You gave permission. You're the one that signed on the dotted line. And so that must be very clear. It is not the system programming your immune system to attack you. You programmed your immune system to attack you with your remedies, with your surgeries, all of your detoxes. I mean, you can live amongst all these different animals and biodiversity, but you know how hard it is to release those demons when you take them on, especially in a high frequency environment. And so when your body's trying to release all those demons that they've come in contact with, people don't want to feel that. And so they attack their own immune system, trap it inside, and that's where you get all the fast moving turbo cancers. So again, it is not the system programming your immune system to attack you. You program your immune system to attack you. You did it. You already said yes because you actually left your house and received the remedies and protocols done to you by licensed professionals. You gave your John Hancock to everything. The difference between 1945 and 2025 is you're giving the permission. Okay? That's the only difference between 1945 and 2025, or 2023, 2024, 2025. You're giving the permission, you gave the permission. And so, Dr. Dre, he releases a statement apologizing for the women he's hurt. I'm sure watching Diddy and Brand and Weinstein and other people like Timberlake going through their own bullshit, their own karma of sorts. Well, I remember back in 2020 we apologized to the black population a few years ago. Maybe it's time for men to apologize or at least change their behavior. Sometimes going back and apologizing might open up the can of worms they don't want. So I don't always say, hey, go back to somebody that you've hurt in the past, because you don't want to deal with that. But change your behavior and acknowledge that maybe you've done some stupid shit, and maybe change your behavior and treat your current person with a lot more reverence and respect. All right? And so the world is divided into 3 types of people on the internet. We have writers. I'm a fucking writer. It took me a minute to figure out my voice, but yeah, I'm a writer. My mother actually taught me that. She says, if you have an issue with me, write it to me. And I would, she said, you can write whatever you want. You can say swear words, do whatever. And so, yeah, when she would come down on me on something, and I'd be so mad, I didn't have the words. Of course, when you don't have words, you use your fist. So she's like, nope, you're not using your fist. You write out your grievances. And even doing all the lines, I will not lie again, or I will not do this again, or I will not do that again, like 200, 300, 6,000 times. And I have to write lines. I remember my sister and I would do that when we were punished for something. We'd write lines. You saw that with Bart Simpson writing lines on the chalkboard, right? And so we have writers, we have speakers, and we have socializers. Some people can only socialize in the presence of people in their world, and they can't speak or write to anyone on the internet unless you're with them personally. I understand that. I finally get it. I can't take it personally. Not everybody can relate to me on such a level that they can write anything. I mean, even one word. I mean, people, when they're with their friends out there and they run in certain circles, they have a certain relationship because of what they do together all the time. And so I'm coming out from way left field. What the hell are you going to write to me about? I mean, you could be superficial, be like, yeah, your outfit looked nice. I mean, but in reality, it's like what I'm talking about, people have a hard time relating to. So there's nothing for them to write about. Some people can, some people can't. So some people can only socialize in the presence of people in their world, and they can't speak or write to anyone on the internet unless you're with them personally or doing the same things they're doing. So some people are writers and speakers and socializers on the internet, but during climate change, socializing in the presence of people is taxing. So then you have to understand why it's so important to be a writer and a speaker. So speaking on Facebook, okay. Writing on Facebook, okay. But now, do you really want to hold court in a room full of people that are spewing out all of their mycoplasma all over you? No, you don't. You want to get the point across, and you don't want to be taking on somebody else's demons. And again, if their demons happen to cross boundaries, you can block and delete. But when you're out there in the public square, spewing out whatever it is you're spewing out, and they have their own demons, and you happen to trigger their demons, there is no defense. What are you going to do? Walk out there in a bulletproof suit, in a suit of armor, with your head on a swivel? No, you don't want to live like that. That's why, nowadays, I wouldn't want to be out there in these rallies, going to these symposiums of people who have grievances against whatever. Not only are you putting yourself in danger because you don't know who you're going to trigger, but you're also taking in all their demons every single freaking time that you out there and breathe in all that stuff. Oh God, Jillian, you just basically said you've given up on life. Not necessarily. I'm actually saving my life because I know how aggressive it is out there. With not only people just off their rocker, but you're taking in so much of that, of their ectoplasm, their aerosolized ectoplasm, that then you have to release. You can't harbor that because that will destroy you later on. I mean, you could harbor that and you can take it. I mean, I'll tell you, when I go out there, whether it's a grocery store or a restaurant, or even having a few people that I don't usually hang out with around, I have to release those demons. And it's a bitch. But then if I was one of those that had to work the next day, I couldn't be down sick all the time, every single time I socialized. So then I'd be forced to take a remedy. And when you're taking a remedy, you develop another demon on top of that. So you're developing exponential demons when you have to keep remedying your situation. So no, I don't want to be out there having to spew out the demons that night or even the next day And of course, I don't put myself in a position where I have to work, that I have to remedy those demons, developing another demon inside. So then if I'm going to get a point across, I'm not trying to sell tickets to anything. I'm not trying to go and convert somebody and hold rallies and hold activist stances. No, no, no. This is for my pure professional and personal development. Because again, you can't sell pain and suffering to people. You can't. That's not allowed. And so some people are writers and speakers and socializers on the internet, but during climate change, socializing in the presence of people is taxing. So then you have to understand why it's important to be a writer and a speaker. Another awakening today. I'm okay with people suffering with the choices they make in their own life, because it would tear me up inside, because I would want to stop the suffering, or I felt some injustice. And so, I mean, my own family, my husband and whatever people are, in my world, I'll tell you, I really want to end their suffering. If they make bad choices, I want to be like, oh, I want to save you from that. But you really can't. Even with my own husband, I figured out that no matter what he chooses with his job, what he does with his job, with him going out, whatever, and doing the stuff with the boat stuff, and if he drinks alcohol, and I'm just like, oh, gosh, I wish I could save you from all that stress of this and that. No. People choose how many hours they want to work. They choose what kind of debt they take on. They choose their socializing environment. They choose all of that, and they have to pay for it. Literally, you have to pay for it. I can't go and save them. So, and I know with my husband, I'm more of a defender of him than not. And I've come off that way. I know I have. But then I realized, he is an adult. He makes his own choices. He will have to, if he makes choices that he has to suffer from, it sucks, but he'll have to deal with it. And I don't feel bad anymore. I used to just be like, oh God, I wish I could just, and I would actually feel something around that. Now I'm like, you know what? He'll have to suffer. If he chooses this, he'll have to suffer through it. And maybe that suffering will teach him something. Maybe that suffering out there, people who are suffering from people who died, and they're looking at what they did in their life. Are they going to do the same thing as their mom did? Are they going to do the same thing as their dad did? Are they going to do the same things as their sister and brother and cohort and friend and family did? And so even people who have died in people's lives, they're going to suffer. And they either do the same thing or something a little bit different or completely opposite. And then people make these choices. You can't get mad, because now they're seeing the outcome of these choices in such a way that they have some kind of relatability to it, because you can choose to scale down your lifestyle, scale down your hours. You can choose to start weaning yourself off of alcohol and pot and cigarettes, but that might be a little bit wow. But it's all a choice. It's just a matter of what's important. You can choose not to take on so much debt. You can choose not to travel so much. You can choose not to have a family. You can choose to put more emphasis in the food supply versus all your baubles and gadgets and trips and clothing. And so if people are like, well, I gotta have, this lifestyle and I can't afford food, tough fucking shit. Reprioritize. I don't have any sympathy for you. None. And so I've come to terms with it, even with my own family, my own husband. I hate to see anyone suffer for any choices they've made, but there's no way I can protect them. I can advise people, but if they're looking for advice, even if they're not looking for advice. But I'm okay with the suffering, so as long as it's not deadly or too long term. So yeah, my husband goes, hey, call the ambulance. I'll call the ambulance. I'm not going to let him sit there and just suffer like that. But, and so when you're okay with yourself suffering because you'll survive it, and you're okay with other people suffering because it was never your fault to begin with, and it's out of your hands, that's the freedom and the awakening like no other. When your kids make bad choices and you're trying to now figure out, should you save them and give them money or a place to stay, or do you let them suffer and figure out they'll go couch surf for a certain amount of time and deal with stupid ass roommates? I've done that. I've had to couch surf and deal with some roommates that I put myself in that position. I got to deal with some stupid ass shit. Oh my gosh. And that taught me a lot. I don't like roommates. I don't want to live in somebody else's house. Okay? I really don't. And so that made it very important that my husband and I both had our own place. Because we've done that. We've couch surfed. We lived in somebody else's house. And I would say that I understand how stressful that can be when you're taking on roommates, family, when you're going living with somebody else. And who wants to be under that kind of stress and rule? You got to have your own place, your own space. And if you can't, then you have to really know whose ring you have to kiss. And so, yeah, the most extraordinary suffering is watching the suffering from a loved one who has made certain choices in their life. Okay? And so, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I learned so much suffering, living by myself, living with people, living weird places. And I'll say, yeah, that suffering teaches you everything. That's the gift you give people, is the gift of suffering, to learn the lessons so they don't make them again. But you know how it is out there. People are not conditioned to suffer, to learn, because they were bribed to do something. So that when you're bribed to do something, you're paid to do something that you should do anyways because it's a responsibility, then you feel entitled. And that's kind of what we're dealing with right now, is we have so many people who feel entitled because they were bribed to do just what they should be doing. And so the most extraordinary suffering is watching the suffering from a loved one who has made certain choices in their life, and they will have to strategize their way out of it. Because if myself or anyone else comes in and swoops down to save them, that's another nail in both people's coffins, in my coffin as well as theirs. So you can only imagine how many parents want to save their kids out there. Okay? Kids make bad choices, the parents bail them out. Then the kids live at the home, and then the kid tears up the home. And then now you have to go and get that kid out, and that kid now is turned into a monster. Some people have developed monsters in their children, and they're trapped. They're screwed because they developed that monster. And so our ancestors cursed us with the notion that we can save other people from their own suffering and still live. We never could. And the only way we did it was if we put them in the morgue as humanely as possible. And the only way you could do that safely was to develop a religion around death and suffering through law and order, not the law of the jungle. That's why I'm not religious or spiritual. I'm not justifying destroying someone else to end their suffering. I want people to learn from their own mistakes. I won't be the one to take away a lesson from them. That's why I walked away from society. It's too painful watching people repeat the same mistakes over and over again because someone in their world kept saving them from the lessons they should have learned 15 years ago. And then it feels so nice to be an island unto yourself with as little drama as possible, as people keep making the same mistakes over and over again, expecting someone else to save them. And releasing that demon is a bitch. It's not always possible for people to release that demon of trying to save somebody, save the world. So they become a destroyer through love and hate. And some of them work with the government with their medical holistic licenses, state-sanctioned euthanasia. And we thank them for their service, because I can't imagine living around people, that type of world, watching people die every single day. And so we thank you for your service. It's still very difficult for me to realize, for me, once I realize this, knowing that's the world I live in, because it's necessary if I want a peaceful world. So thank you. So all of you out there for your service. So thank you, all of you out there, for your service, so I can live in peace without rest and peace. Okay? So just don't take offense if I don't hang out with people. And I must be representation of the ideals I believe in. I'm not trying to convert anyone, and I don't want anyone trying to convert me. That's the battle of the J world. When you finally walk away and you go to virtual community and you spew out your grievances, you spew out whatever without trying to convert somebody else, and find a way to speak that isn't completely like specifically targeting a person, place, or thing, but you look at the bigger picture and even the industry and even the concepts that need to be questioned and considered or reconsidered versus a person, place, or thing, And so that's about the J world's finally walking away. And so I just wish people understood that is the internet, that the internet is the immortality. You can be friends with people on the internet, even if you know them in real life. I don't always have to hang out with someone to know them. What's wrong with back and forth or saying hi or some shit? But that's the thing about the internet. There are socializers, there are writers, and there are speakers. And a lot of people who are in social groups together, in very tight, cliquey groups, they don't speak to anyone outside of their circle. And if they do, they tolerate them. And I understand that completely, because what do you say? How much, oh, your outfit looks nice. Oh, that food looks nice. Okay. I mean, it's nice, but I mean, people want to relate to them people want people to relate to them in a way that they relate to themselves on a level that they can understand. And sometimes it's the parties that they go to. If I don't go to parties, then no one's going to relate to me. Because how can they relate to this? They weren't raised around this. I wasn't raised around partying. They weren't raised around my information. So then you have to be like, okay. But maybe eventually those who are partiers and guru Gaia people who realize that there is some credibility even in the written word in another thought process. That you don't also relate to somebody through pot and alcohol and drugs and sex. That there is a mental relationship, an intellectual type of relationship versus what people do with their biochemistry. And so, anyways, you can be friends with people on the internet even if you don't know them in real life, but not everybody can relate to people the same way. So it is what it is. But you can be friendly with people without even having to physically see them in your presence, but you don't understand. But if you don't understand them, it's difficult to be friendly with people even on the internet. What do you say to them? There are writers and there are speakers and there are socializers. Some people can write and socialize while others can only write. And others can only socialize in the physical presence of somebody else. What if we all learned how to write and then learn how to socialize? And not just selling somebody something. Not just having an opinion or giving love to everybody. Because that's easy. Emotions are easy. What else do you have to offer to the world, right? Then we can understand each other and we don't have to be in the same room. So when I see these gurus who smoke tons of pot say everyone should get off the internet and start hanging out together because the internet's frying their brains, speak for yourself, buddy. The internet is the safest way to relay information without catching your demons. And if your demons do cross boundaries, I'll block and delete. So yeah, you don't want to always be in the presence of people. Okay? Because not only do their microbes attack you, but also they could attack you too if they don't like you. That's the danger in this society with the whole zombie apocalypse. Why is that a zombie apocalypse? Because the beasts inside people are moving. And people are dying suddenly from it. The beast is attacking people inside their body and they're dying from it. And so internal and external biological conversion is antigen can become antibodies and antibodies can become antigen. The host determines the role its immune system plays. Every single reaction the host makes towards its own symptoms will determine how their own immune system will help them or hurt them. And so again, I spent 7 years releasing that demon that was going to destroy me because of my practices in the health and wellness world, as well as my prior lifestyle. And of course, hanging out with so many people who were using remedies against themselves, sharing their immune system with me. That was pretty much everybody in the world. Okay, so I went from state to state, group to group, job to job, maybe boyfriend to boyfriend. And so I was taking on so much of the world. And that became a demon of itself, but that became a demon of experiences and memories and even intellectual capability, but I had to release the things that weren't serving me. That was the last 7 years. So then what was left was all the pertinent memories for my intention for today. I remember so many things, now making the connections. It's increased my intellectual capability. It's increased my tolerance for this environment. It's increased my strategy and my adaptability and my survivability in this environment. In this crazy freaking environment, All the memories, every single experience, every single whatever that I've been through has then given me so much more of an arsenal to survive. Okay? And so I now turn my immune system that was against me to work for me. And that's not something that happens like that. That's a conditioning process. We have conditioned our immune system to work against us because of our practices in the medical holistic energy healing world of taking away people's pain and remedying it with all the different antibiotics. And so the antigen turning to antibodies could turn into antigen inside the body against you. Then you have to develop secondary antibodies. That's the whole primary antibodies and secondary antibodies, is that the antigen, the antibodies that were working for you then were converted because you never released those demons. And so they replicated. That's what happened in the macrophages. And then hide from the immune system. And so then the system comes in with another remedy called a vaccine to then go and try to find and hunt for those pathogens. But if the person's not releasing, then that even becomes toxic. Not because it's toxic because of what's in it, it's because people hold those macrophages inside and not release them. And so then it turns against them. It's another entity that turns against them. So that's how you have to understand how the legal system as far as biotechnology works. Nothing is poison if it's FDA approved, but you're the one that will determine how you're going to convert the antigen and the antibodies to work for you or against you. And that's where people are getting lost in the loopholes. And so they're making correlation equals causation, and they're blaming. And I don't blame them because they weren't told this, but how do you tell someone who's already too far gone? And even if you did tell them, would they believe it? They were told not to feel pain. But now they're saying, oh, you're supposed to feel stuff from all these different therapies. We're like, no, you keep taking away our pain. You kept telling us to take away the pain. That was built into the culture. So now the culture is saying, well, no, maybe it's not. Maybe you're supposed to feel a little bit of pain and a little bit of sickness. People are like, yeah, okay, now you're trying to destroy us. You see how that you couldn't tell someone now anything. You couldn't evolve people who are so far gone that don't want to change. And so now it can take someone like me to give some kind of information out there. Because I've been in all your shoes. I've ran in all your circles out there. Every single one of them. But how can you not when you're on the internet? You just go from one group to another group to another group to another group to another thought process to another religion to another science to another political thought process to another scientific thought process. I mean, I spanned everything. I've been in every single fucking group out there. And I've played the game. Pro-Trump, anti-Trump. Pro-Biden, anti-Biden. Pro-Israel, anti-Israel. I played all those fucking games. I've been all over. You've seen me all over the internet the last 12 years, okay? So I finally converted my immune system to work for me, not against me. And it took me 7 years to do that. And so I spent 7 years releasing that demon that was going to destroy me because of my practices in the health and wellness world as well as my prior lifestyle. And so, of course, that's pretty much, of course, hanging out with everybody and everybody practicing their remedies. And so I was taking those in too. And so that's pretty much everybody in the world out there practicing their remedies and their surgeries and whatever. And so I walked away. To do what I'm doing, one must condition themselves to be on their own most of the time. The fact I get sick tells me and the world that I'm releasing that demon. I'm not harboring it later on for it to destroy me or anyone else. The fact I became sick after Dr. Phil from traveling was because I was releasing those demons. So when I was doing an interview with that guy from Infinite Man Summit, Alex, okay, and I was sick. And the people over there, like in the other side, across me, they weren't sick because they got the V, right? Okay, you should have been sick. You should have been sick. You were around me. You were around strangers in that hotel that you were in before Dr. Phil. We're in the Dr. Phil place and we're in a closed space and everyone is breathing out all their stuff during it was during the springtime. Okay, March. So right in the heels, right in the end of winter, beginning of spring, and that's where flu season also is pretty prevalent. You should have been sick. People across from me. I was sick. The reason why I was sick, I was releasing those demons. And it woke up whatever beast inside and I was releasing it. You should have been sick, but they weren't. They're bragging how they weren't sick. Yeah, you're bragging that you're harboring that freaking demon inside of you that's going to not only destroy you, but also your children down the road when the climate changes. So I wonder how people are faring now across from me. I wonder how people are faring now that were against me. How much of a demon have you strengthened with all your remedies and your surgeries and your practices of mitigating nutrition? Low sugar diets, low salt diets, low carb diets, low protein diets, only plant proteins, but not animal proteins. How's it working for you? Tell me how that's fucking working for you. So the fact I became sick after Dr. Phil from traveling was because I was releasing those demons. Other people were harboring them inside their body. So now ask them how they're doing. I'm sure they're doing great because they had their latest V, right? That's why getting sick is an immune system response to releasing demons. Another reason why I don't treat anything. I'm not trying to attack my body yet again. But again, not everybody is conditioned to be sick, which is why this new world may not be for everybody. The new world right now is the old world on fucking steroids. That's why you stay home and stay safe, because everything they ever did in their whole life, as far as remedies and surgeries and whatever else, is now activated, and it's formidable, and it's the beast you want to deal with. And you will see that beast come out in people on the internet through their beliefs when they're looking for the enemy. And so stay home and stay safe. If you must be out there, I hope you're strong enough, and I hope you have time to recoup the resources lost. And so, woman, God, it took me 7 years to convert my system to keep me alive versus destroy me. All the remedies and surgeries and even prior relationships trained me to destroy myself and trained my immune system to destroy myself. I had to reteach it self-preservation. That's why I stayed home and stayed safe. It took me 3 years to see the most aggressive portion of it. And yes, climate change was an accelerant. It sped up my intentions. That's why you see diet suddenly out there. People have trained their immune system to attack themselves, and the environment has sped up people's intentions. It took me 7 years to realize the full potential. If I were to start over again in this environment, doing what I did, it could have happened faster. I would have really had to have hammered down on the milk and the meat, cheese, eggs, along with pulling out the crap, and of course, scaled down public exposures. The pain was pretty much manageable given my conditioning process prior to COVID-19. Now I really get how out of my hands it really is. People have trained their immune system to attack itself. You can't convert people who already converted themselves to die someday. And that's in all politics, all religions, all science dogmas. Just like you can't convince a domestic violence victim to leave her partner or his partner. They have to want to redirect on their own if they even have the capacity. Enjoy your life. It was never your fault. You were born into a system of slavery. Thank you so much for everything, for your service. I had to figure it out. I had to see how much power I had in this. I only have power myself. My suffering is watching the world realize they don't have the power within themselves. And they're stuck with this information, and they can't even help themselves, and I can't help them. They can only help themselves. Again, I'm not the enemy. I'm just representation. I knew all of this about the medical holistic system. I just didn't know how to say it. The demons in people's bodies are not only let loose, but they have been activated, and they are in the public square, in every gathering you're in, every gathering you go to. It's crazy. Which is why when I go and hang out with people for long periods of time, I blow up with defense system. My body's actually working for me, not against me. I train it to work for me, not against me. And so that's why you see some of the women out there who go out there, they're steadily gaining weight or aging aggressively. If they're already on the trajectory of being bigger and bigger and bigger, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But if the body is now losing infrastructure and losing capacity to build enough adipose tissue and enough substance, then they're aging aggressively, becoming skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And or some people are falling apart. Okay? And so that's not a coincidence that I've seen people on my Facebook that I've seen that are out there. The kids are out there, everyone's out there. And that person is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, or they're aging aggressively. And so cancer is fast-moving growth developed by you to destroy you due to your immune system, suppressing protocols, and harm via the voluntary surgery system. Cancer is the body defending itself from you. Disease is the body attempting to push out the enemy, and then cancer comes from the body developing an enemy against you because you stopped your immune system from releasing. Autoimmune disorders are the body's defense system against your immune suppressing protocols and acts of harm in drugs, alcohol, sex, and remedies, and high-risk lifestyles. And hanging out with people right now will accelerate your immune system to work against you faster as everyone's demons are attacking each other. Remember, people have already trained their immune system to attack itself, and everyone is in close contact with. And so Pandora's box opened in 2019. And so I'm finally able to characterize what's going on correctly. People's defense systems are on the attack right now. Oh my God. Which is why I stay home and stay safe. Now you know why. My gut knew. My home is my kingdom of peace and life. Who wants to be on the defense daily? It is exhausting. Which is why I respect the fuck out of my husband, battling people's demons daily, as well as his own. Okay? So I know what he has to deal with. That's why I respect him. And then the whole thing with Eve and Adam. It was Eve. It was Eve who made Adam because Eve was under attack, and the Y antibodies developed into the Y chromosome, and out popped Adam, blaming Eve for everything. And did Eve allow herself to be attacked? And if she did, she's learning her lessons. Women need to learn how to be strong defender of herself, lest she develops an army to destroy everything, including her. Okay? And so, yeah, I'm bringing some biblical stuff into this. All right, I'm almost done. 1, 2, okay. Okay, I got a few more and then I'm done. When you're in a domestic violence situation against yourself, you can only save yourself. Be careful of who you follow as a defender against an invisible enemy or stranger on Facebook or in Hollywood, politics, religion, and science. You could be taking their advice of remedies and surgeries and supplements, attacking the body as the body attacks itself, defending against you, trying to save itself from you, hence died suddenly. And so I make sure I'm belaboring this because I need to. Cancer was a body's defense system against your practices in the medical holistic world, and it had the intention to destroy you. However, attacking it versus releasing it is why people do not survive the culture of the medical holistic system. The body can only endure so many self-induced attacks, and then using the medical holistic system to finish you off. And I said, good luck out there. No more warnings from me. And now it's just observations. I'm not warning you of anything. You've already been warned. Everybody's warned you. Even the side effects. The back of the bottle, the inserts, everything warned you. So no more warnings from me. It's too late for many of you. Now you have choices. Choose well for yourself. Again, I was never the enemy. I just saw the playbook, and I'm telling you, I am not defending myself anymore. No one is attacking me. If I am outside, I'll be on defense. But at home, I'm not in danger. Therefore, will not use the medical system or holistic system to attack my own immune system from doing what it's supposed to do. So any warnings I give you will most likely land on deaf ears, and the ones who get it do not need my warnings. They get it. Grace gets it. Audrey gets it. Tanya gets it. John gets it. Pip gets it. Other people out there get it. They're not always vocal about it, but I understand. The system understood the psychology of microbes and nature and nurture, and they understood the power of fear. And fear has a grip on so many people in politics, religion, and science. Kim gets it too. I'm not some left-wing liberal nut wanting you to destroy your family. What you don't realize is your family is destroying you. Your politics, religion, science, and family and friends are destroying you as you have allowed them to destroy you. But I'm not the one to save you. When you're in a domestic violence situation against yourself, you can only save yourself. See, so then I have background in that. I took the 40-hour training class over there in California. I went to Oakland and went to that 40-hour training class and was on those hotlines talking to women who were abused or trying to relieve. Go to a shelter, a safe place. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. People abuse themselves. They're in a really horrible relationship with themselves. And they're the ones that I'm going to have to figure out. I don't know how they're going to do it. And so I made this assertion that alpha males are the predators as a beta males are the defenders, though it could be actually back and forth. You think some beta male is, a defender, not necessarily, maybe he was, and then something switched and turned him into a predator. Google the alpha and the beta generation, given these kids will be under attack in utero via the medical holistic system. The generation of people born between 2010 and 2025 is called the Generation Alpha. This generation allows Generation Z under attack via climate change and holistic remedies and surgery oncology. And so, yeah, this generation follows Generation Z. So Generation Beta is a generation that will follow Generation Alpha. They're expected to be born between 2025 and 2039. Their parents are either late millennials, Gen Zs, and early Gen Alphas. They are also the younger siblings of mid to late Gen Alpha and older siblings of the early Gen Gammas. Okay, that's some high frequency kids, man. Holy shit. And so then I'm saying, I'm asking, are you using your sons and daughters as attack dogs? That was one thing. We were watching Universe 25 on Facebook and some people. And so then this is the first thing. I'm going to read this one more time and then I'm done. I mean, I don't know what else I'm going to say. You pretty much have everything, but this is the last thing I'm going to say. And then if there's anything more to say, I'll say, but now I got to just put this all together. Okay, so now you get it. When you attack your body with anything in the remedy, medical, holistic surgery system, it will develop antibodies to attack you and destroy you. That's called disease. Your body's trying to push out the enemy and you're holding it in, attacking your body. And then people look for the enemy, when it was them all along attacking themselves, causing the body to defend itself by attacking you, and then over time destroy you by developing cancer to protect itself from you. You are the enemy to yourself. And when you allow people to give you remedies and surgeries and herbs and extracts against your body's defense system, you allow the vampire into your world and it will suck the life out of you. That's why we have so many chromosomes, Y chromosomes and Y antibodies acting like defenders when they're actually predators against themselves and the world. The body can switch from being a police officer to gang member just like that, because the body converted itself from being a defender to a predator. And in this environment right now, every single person's body has turned into a predator against them and against somebody else. And that's why you're seeing school shootings. That's why you see people act upon their proclivities, whatever they are, and they're accelerating the intentions. But again, that's why we're in a surveillance society and you protect yourself. And when you have something different to say, you don't say it to people's faces because they could hurt you. You say it on the internet and then you say it in a way that the world understands. You're not attacking a person, place, or thing. You're attacking the ideas and the concepts that are out there. You're attacking the traditions. That's it. But you're not attacking the people, because some people have the capacity to change. Others don't. But that's not your responsibility to not say something because somebody can't change. They have the responsibility to block and delete you if what you say is blasphemous to what their beliefs are. And I clearly understand when people do that, because what I'm saying, some people they don't have the capacity to change. And so they can't hear, they shouldn't hear this. It's too painful. And so, yeah. And so, yeah. So again, right now, our system has woken up the beast. The climate change has woken up the beast, which is why you have delivery services and why you have the internet and why it's now time to cultivate your brain. It's not time to be out there with everybody. But again, that's everyone's decision. And if you are working, do whatever you can to save yourself while you're working. And you'll have to figure that out. Reprioritize. Yeah. All right. That's pretty much it. I figured out what cancer was. I figured out what disease was. I figured out how I explain the remedies and the holistic remedies and the surgeries. I understand the Y chromosome and the Y antibodies. There's the connection. Defenders, predators, the switch. Even women hold this inside themselves as well. And that's why you see a lot of boys out there, because women have been on the defense for fucking years. Some women have been on the defense to such an extent that's all they have is boys. Some women were allowed a little bit of respite, a little bit of peace, and now they have girls. And some women are not going to have any children, and they can save their ass and save themselves. Maybe. If they are allowed to. The world is not what you think. All right, bye.